The Kawhi Leonard aspiration scandal takes another turn. New details. We're going to dive into them. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, it's been a little quiet on this whole Kawhi front. It's been a little quiet.
I was just about to.
It was coming. You knew it was going to happen.
I was going to beat you to it because I heard you say quiet. I was going to say quiet. I'm not even mad at that
one. We knew there would be more stuff coming out, and now there is, and none of it looks good for the Clippers.
Yeah, I know people have been asking about this. Like, where did this go? Because it seems like it just kind of disappeared. We had a live a couple of days ago where we're like, yeah, it's still there. We're going to find out more. And there's still much more to uncover with this. This is just new information that Pablo has put out. This isn't official from the NBA as part of their own internal investigation that they're doing. But mostly what Pablo does in the show that he put out today is he talks about the fact that he was collaborating or cooperating with the NBA's investigation. They talked to him. They talked to a lot of people. And so this is going to definitely be a thing here for the next few months.
So the NBA hired a firm, Wachtell, to investigate this situation and try to get to the bottom of it. They invited Pablo to go talk with them about what's going on and what his sources were and what information he had. And so what he did is he shared what he shared with them essentially in this podcast. And he did note that Wachtell, they are interviewing all of the employees around the situation first, and then eventually make their way up. Once they think they've got a good amount of evidence and all that, then they'll actually interview Kawhi, they'll interview Steve Ballmer and all that. Yeah. So they're in that process right now. And this kind of stuff takes time. That's why it feels like it's taking so long. It's a long process to get through. But I think at the center of it is that the Clippers, it's hard to buy that the Clippers, that Steve Ballmer were somehow unaware of any kind of an agreement between Kawhi Leonard and Aspiration.
It was always hard to buy, frankly, because especially when Pablo was like, okay, well, here's X, here's Y, here's Z, this, that, and the third. How do you explain this? And it's like, I don't know where this came from, right? And so everybody mostly was of that same mindset, unless I guess you're a Clipper fan. But anyway, that being said, it was always kind of hard to believe because we also know of a history of Uncle Dennis asking for these things. And some of these things, as we're going to talk about in this video, seem to be materializing in a way for him that's definitely pretty suspicious. There's more money involved, obviously, with the stock option for Kawhi and all this stuff. It lines up too perfectly. Now, I know Adam Silver once upon a time back in the summer said, we have to act beyond an appearance of impropriety. They want to get to the bottom of all of this and figure it all out. And this stuff does take a long time. People have been telling me they think the NBA is going to sweep this under the rug, all that stuff. Yeah. But it takes time, like you were mentioning. But there's a ton to this, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation that they're in, and of course, to rehash for everybody, if everybody's forgotten over the last few months what's been going on, essentially the allegation is that the Clippers, through this other company, Aspiration, they against the rules of the NBA's collective bargaining agreement, allegedly against the rules of the collective bargaining agreement and against the salary cap, they circumvented the cap by sending Kawhi extra money through a fraudulent endorsement contract with Aspiration, in which he was not required to actually do anything and could turn down anything. Now, interestingly, there is a little bit about him needing to sign 50 different items, whether those are basketballs or jerseys or whatever. So maybe there is a little something that he did need to do, but nonetheless, he received an ungodly sum of money for endorsing a company that is all about planting trees, yet there's no evidence of Kawhi ever actually planting a tree or doing much of anything for this company, and certainly not enough that would be worth this company investing somewhere between 28, but Donnie, there were reports that it could be as much as $48 million into Kawhi Leonard, to the point where there's something fishy going on.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that is if we go back again to when this initially came out, it was like, okay, they have other guys like Robert Downey Jr. that are involved in this and the promotion of Aspiration.
Bigger stars.
But they are much more marketable stars than Kawhi, the dude that literally never talks, right? Why is he getting so much again? And then the Aspiration employees were questioning this stuff, and it just doesn't make any sense. Why are we paying Kawhi this money again? And so it just lines up too nicely to again think otherwise.
Aspiration was a sponsor of the Clippers. Meanwhile, Steve Ballmer, who owns the Clippers and is one of the wealthiest people on the planet, has also been a multi-time investor into Aspiration. So it's all tying together. But anyway, let's take a look at this clip from Pablo Torre about why they're pretty certain the Clippers knew, despite claims otherwise, they knew exactly what was going on with Kawhi.
They conned me.
And that's we'll get to that clip in a minute too. Check this out, everybody.
Remember what Steve Ballmer told ESPN, which is that he didn't even know about Aspiration until the company Aspiration approached the Clippers in the year 2021.
This is a company that I got to know, frankly, through them approaching us about a sponsorship deal.
I want us to keep scrolling through Aspiration's old.
So before we get to this, keep in mind throughout that interview, that's from the interview with Ramona Shelburne that Steve Ballmer did. In fact, here, let me throw to that right now. This was the Clippers, this was Steve Ballmer, the way he addressed the situation. Check this out.
Well, in the court documents and in Pablo's podcast, they report it was 28 million.
Pablo's podcast, I don't know anything about the court documents on this. I haven't seen them and I don't know. I'm not trying to be, I don't know. I really don't know. But the speculation is what it is. And why did they do that?
It's a lot of money. I mean, 28 million, 7 million a year is a lot of money for a guy that you didn't actually require to do anything.
I don't know why they did what they did, and I don't know how different it is. I really don't. And frankly, any speculation would be crazy. These are guys who committed fraud. How would I be able? Look, they conned me.
You're one of the richest men in America.
We do got to mention that part of it all for people that may not know.
What?
We'd have to mention that part of it all. The legal battle that Aspiration also went through separately from this.
Right. Yeah. And they were basically proven to be a fraudulent company that did con investors. So Steve Ballmer saying they conned me. These are like, how am I supposed to know why they would mysteriously give Kawhi Leonard all this money? I don't know. These are con men because this is criminal actions took place here. Yeah. So I don't know what their motivation would be. I don't, who can guess what the motivations of somebody who's committing a crime would be here.
That's an easy cop out because that was literally a federal investigation.
Right.
So that's an easy cop out. I see why he tried to take that approach in hindsight. Yeah. But again, Pablo doubled down after that.
So he's trying to throw into question, because the big central question for all of this is, if everything was on the up and up, why would anyone pay that much money to an athlete to endorse something that they never actually do anything for? Why would anyone ever do that in their right mind? And so the defense from Steve Ballmer is, I don't know. I didn't know anything about this, but they're criminals. So maybe they're not in their right mind. We have no idea what their motivation is. It's taking it away from rational thought. Because we can question, why would any rational person do this? And Steve Ballmer is putting it to, well, no, we can't assume that it's rational thought, that they're rational thinkers because they're con men. So I don't know. I have no idea. We have no idea. There's just no way of knowing. We don't know. And there was a lot of I don't knows in that conversation. And I love that they con me clip there.
They con me.
They con me. I need to clip that and use that. Maybe we'll make that a drop for the show. But anyway, let's get back to the Pablo Torre bit here and that's where Steve Ballmer saying they approached me in 2021 and they conned me and I didn't know. And it's pretty crystal clear that the Clippers had a deeper relationship with Aspiration than even what we knew up to this point. We're going to get to that in just a moment here. First, we need to do a quick shout out here for our sponsor, and that is Sleeper. They do a fantastic job. You guys can check out Sleeper. Use the link in the description down below. You can get a $100 deposit match up to $100 when you use that code Bulletin. And Sleeper right now has live stats, real-time updates, and a visualization on all stats on their app, which is absolutely fantastic. They have a news feed where you can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA season. So download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. Use the link in the description down below. Make sure you use that code BULLETIN. That way they know that you came from us. Okay, let's get back to this Pablo Torre clip here. Because this is pretty damning here.
Old Twitter account, which has since rebranded itself after filing for bankruptcy at GreenFi Banking. These are all posts from before the rebrand, because you get to a post eventually that someone maybe forgot to tweet. David, what is the date and timestamp of this post?
10 a.m. on August 23rd, 2018.
Amin, could you please describe what this post says and shows?
It is a picture of Aspiration employees, I have to assume, all sitting around. It looks like they're mid-applause. As at the front of the room, one and only Doc Rivers, former head coach of the Clippers, with a smile on his face. Do you want me to read the copy?
I would love you to, actually.
All right. Basketball emoji. What better way to get motivated in the team meeting than having our very own coach, special guest Doc Rivers, stop by to share why he's excited about Aspiration and encourage us to keep our heads in the game at LA Clippers. It's not Blake's fault.
The fact that
Amin is like halfway between Doc Rivers and Macho Man Randy Savage there.
That's Doc. He got him.
You like, all right. I kept waiting for him to tell me to snap into a Slim Jim. All right, here we go.
there is this photo from that same year at this office, which happens to be, by the way, conveniently located less than 10 minutes away from the Clippers practice facility at the time.
Hold on, man. They have a relationship with the Clippers in 2018.
Doc Rivers, by the way, at the time was not merely the head coach of the Clippers in 2018.
He's the president of basketball operations.
He had just been replaced by Lawrence Frank as president of basketball operations, but he was still reporting directly to Steve Ballmer.
Right.
And the next thing are internal documents that I obtained that mention two other Aspiration investors that we have not discussed so explicitly yet. Can you please name those investors?
The Glenn A. Rivers Revocable Trust. UA
They
September,
got him in 4K right
and the
there.
Kristen Rivers Revocable Trust, UA September. And I will bet you $1 that Glenn A. Rivers is known as Doc, and that Kristen is likely someone in his family. I mean,
It is his former wife. It was wife at the time.
Yes, as of February of 2018.
They
So,
got him in 4K.
God.
look,
it's normal to do it through
Right. I mean,
4K.
so in 2018, before Kawhi was even a Clipper, the Clippers had some type of relationship with Aspiration. The whole like, well, I was
Wait, what was
introduced.
the date? Was it August or October? What was that? Because that might have been just after he signed, right? Because didn't he sign that summer?
It was the summer of 2019 when he signed.
Was it 2019?
Yeah.
Okay. I was pretty sure it was 18, maybe, but
Yeah. It was 2019. It was July
that's
10th,
this
2019.
okay.
Because then the Lakers went and won. The Clippers got Kawhi. The Lakers got a championship.
Yeah.
That's the way that worked
the
out.
1921. Yeah, I was equating it to LeBron. I forget LeBron was in a year earlier. In LA.
Right. And LeBron came in a year earlier, and then they got that weird LeBron and the kids year. Yeah.
for trust.
oh yeah, that part.
That's normal.
Totally.
This is episode 7, right?
Yes.
How are we still? I feel like I should have called this from the beginning. from episode 1, as soon as we found out Aspiration, Clippers, money on the table, there's a lot of kind of moving parts and cap circumvention. Why didn't the name Doc Rivers come out my mouth immediately?
So I reached out to Doc Rivers, who declined comment. But I should just observe that these investments, they came more than a year before Kawhi Leonard, by the way, would officially be a free agent in 2019. So I'm just saying that, like, this social network was not only geographically tight, they were investing years before all of this.
Incestuous. This is incestuous.
It doesn't speak to that, gentlemen, in my opinion. It certainly speaks to knowledge This is not wrong on its face to tell your friends, hey, I'm investing in this company. Let's do this. But it certainly goes to knowledge.
The social network that we're describing would have known more than hardly knowing anything, which was the previous
Is that what
quote.
they're still going with that?
This is the part, again, that tests credulity.
I'm merely saying that these investments happened, that team building speech happened years before Steve Ballmer says he heard of the company.
So, again, all of this suggests that it's very likely that Steve Ballmer knew a lot more about Aspiration than what he was letting on in that interview with Ramona. It also begs the question, though, if this stuff is out there, like Doc went and did a speaking engagement, why would Steve Ballmer not? He would have to know that stuff is going to come out, that Doc Rivers was also invested in this company years before. I mean, a year before Kawhi even became a Clipper. Why go on TV and say that, oh, I didn't really know. I had no idea about Aspiration. Why would you do that?
I'd have to think he was advised not to do it because it was not good. And he kind of rushed out there to get ahead of this story as quickly as possible and spin the narrative. And then that's when, like I said earlier, Pablo doubles down and it's like, okay, well, there's this, there's that. Mark Cuban gets involved and it's like, oh, actually, you're right, Mark. Here's this, here's that.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this is like this whirlwind that I don't think he was anticipating. I think that initially, which is why I think he was probably advised against it, frankly, and just didn't listen, or at least I would imagine. But anyway, initially, he probably thought it was just allegations. It's still mostly allegations, for the record. This has not been proven yet in terms of like the NBA's investigation. But I don't think that he thought it would get to this point where they would be scrubbing and finding these images from 2018. Like, I think that this would have been something that if he truly wanted to make sure that everything was in order before making a public appearance, they would have had to go through each of these accounts, talk to all the employees, make sure all the emails are deleted, blah, 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 blah. But by that point, you have to also consider that Pablo had already done a good amount of digging, already had some sources, all this stuff. So they asked them to talk about it. So it's not like they weren't aware of it, but he just didn't take it all that seriously, very clearly. Like, it's very clear he didn't take it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, there was no reason for him to go. I don't think he helped himself by going on TV at all. I thought that
didn't do anything.
You wanted him to answer the question.
Yeah.
Why would this investment happen if there was no wrongdoing, and why would it all be kept so quiet? Why would there be no public connection between Aspiration and Kawhi Leonard aside from some very minor things? Nothing anywhere close to being worth $28 million. The central question behind all of it, and this is why it was even raised eyebrows to begin with, why Pablo Torre even first started looking at this was, that's weird. Kawhi's getting $28 million, and then later digs, finds out it could have been actually more like $48 million from this company, and there's like no connection between the two. That's kind of weird. Why is that? That question has still not been answered. And when he was asked about it directly, it was, well, no, I don't know. You know, they con me, they're con men. And then made it seem as though he didn't really know that much about Aspiration and hadn't or had not known that much about them until they started to be a sponsor of the Clippers. And now you dig a little bit more and you see that there was a connection between the Clippers and Aspiration well before them. In fact, there's internal documentation that Pablo had from Aspiration, email chains within Aspiration, where they talk about getting Kawhi to sign some stuff potentially, and saying, and the question gets asked, are the Clippers aware of our deal with him? Because we would like to coordinate with them in order to make it easier to, get him in the right place at the right time, get the gear, the equipment, all the kind of stuff we wanted to sign. And the response to that was, they're very well aware. They're well aware that this deal exists. Balmer tried to paint it as, I have no idea. I have no idea if Kawhi has any kind of a deal with them. I heard he had a deal. I don't know what any of the details are or anything like that. I don't know. All we did was introduce them. That's it. We introduced them, and then we left the room. We closed our ears. We earmuffed it. Had no idea what kind of a deal Kawhi had with Aspiration. And it seems the Clippers were very well aware of what the deal was with Aspiration and Kawhi. And when we talk about credibility, the stance that the Clippers put out there initially just does not seem to be an accurate one.
Yeah, I agree with you. It just wasn't like we were talking about with the initial way that they handled this. It wasn't, in hindsight anyway, the right way to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing we ever really talked about is the penthouse of it all.
Yeah.
You want to kind of explain that one?
Yeah, so there were reports that Kawhi's uncle Dennis, who was his unlicensed agent essentially, when he was a free agent, when Kawhi was a free agent, was asking teams, and there was reporting that he asked the Lakers for these things too, asking for a private plane that he can use whenever he wants, a house, guaranteed endorsement money, as well as a percentage ownership of the team, which all of those things are blatantly in violation of the NBA's collective bargaining agreement. I mean, these are all, serious. I don't want to say crimes, but wrongdoings in the NBA's
balls
ecosystem.
On this guy to ask for that stuff is insane,
right? And so he's asking for all of these things. Now it turns out he may have actually gotten a penthouse. Now it is a bit circumstantial, but essentially, shortly after Kawhi becomes a Clipper, an LLC got started by Uncle Dennis. That the LLC was in Florida. That a day after the LLC was created, the LLC acquired a penthouse apartment, whatever we want to call it, in Los Angeles that's valued at over $6 million. Like they were talking a very, very high value place that the LLC acquired from another highly invested person in Aspiration. So again, that doesn't necessarily mean it came from the Clippers. That could just be circumstantial. Do they all know each other? Things like that, right? But it's another piece where he was asking for a house. Kawhi is listed as the person that's been paying the property taxes on this place. Reported as asking for this thing, for this. Then the LLC that he creates gets this property, and it happens to come from somebody else who is extremely invested in Aspiration, which is invested in the Clippers, in that they are a sponsor of the Clippers, and Steve Ballmer has personally invested money in Aspiration and continued to do so. Even once the company started failing, he continued to invest money at the same rate as when the company was reportedly doing well, right? So even when the company started struggling, Ballmer did another investment at the same valuation, which is crazy, right? I mean, again, goes back to why would I do that's fishy. Could someone do that and just be really stupid with their investments? Sure. But why would Steve Ballmer actually do that? Does that create a situation where was he investing in order to keep that company afloat, in order to prevent any of this stuff from becoming public? That's the leap that people have been making with all of this. But again, so there was a penthouse that apparently wound up in the control of Uncle Dennis through this LLC. That was part of what they were asking for. Did it come directly from is there a smoking gun? Did it come directly from the Clippers? No, but a little interesting that it's coming from another person who just so happened to be very, very invested in Aspiration. This is all it's all becoming too much to be coincidence.
Yeah, that's the thing about this all. And so it's going to be very interesting to see the way that the NBA decides to handle this whenever this internal investigation that they're doing from the law firm that they hired, whenever that all comes to completion and they're able to get all the facts, everything they uncovered in front of them, what decision do they make? I think that's going to be interesting to find out.
Yeah, the punishment for the Clippers could range from fines to loss of draft picks to, Steve Ballmer could be forced to step down. I don't think they're going to do that. But it could void Kawhi Leonard's contract. I mean, if it is proven that there was wrongdoing here, we've talked about this a bunch. We talked about it when the story came out a few months ago. Adam Silver has to drop the hammer, because what is at stake? And just to reiterate for anybody who has not been on the up and up on this, has not been following up on all this, what is at stake is that if it is believed the Clippers got away with something, right? If this is now the league just slaps them on the wrist, there are enough high net worth owners in the NBA that if this is now a path to circumvent the salary cap, if this is a way to pay players to join your team outside of the confines of the NBA salary cap, that will drastically shift the integrity and the power of the NBA, the ability of teams to sign free agents. If Steve Ballmer, who is one of the wealthiest people, not in the country, in the world, I mean, far wealthier than any other NBA owner, if there is a pathway to funnel money to players outside of the NBA salary cap, potentially you wind up with one team having all the top players and having them on tiny contracts because they're getting all their money elsewhere under the table. And that is a situation that the NBA cannot allow. That would be disastrous, devastating to the league.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I look forward to seeing what the conclusion is.
Yep, absolutely. We'll see where this all goes. Of course, we'll keep everybody up to date on the situation. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.